Hey everyone, it's PhiDX. So I got some fun comments on my last video. This young Jackie Chan is spitting facts. What does PhiDX know? He can't even make it out of top 64. Well, that was a little unnecessary. Anyway, today was the North American finals of the Tekken World Tour, and at the very end, we got some more details on the heat system coming in Tekken 8. So disclaimer, people seem to think that I'm hating on or doubting Tekken 8, and that I'm pessimistic and overreacting, and I'm not, I swear. It's strictly analysis from a competitive standpoint, and I'm really curious about how they can maintain depth while going for their theme of aggression. Once again, there are timestamps if you need it, hit the 2x speed if you need it. Let's get into it. So first things first, let's rewatch the trailer. I'll let it run one time, and then we'll go through it frame by frame together.
This right, please.
That's pretty sick. He summons a railgun. Applies dash cancels and gets the combo. That's cool because it doesn't have the camera change this time, so you can really see it. Then dash cancels and then whiffs. Kazuya ducks is high, I should say. Alright, so let's check it out again. So this sequence starts with Jack landing a giant power mid. This is his back two currently in Tekken 7. And it switches to a full cutscene, and we get this over-the-shoulder view where he runs in. And you can see he's kind of glowing with flames, right? He does this forward 2-2, summons the summons the railgun, and now you can see he's no longer glowing. So whatever move he did after that seems to have spent his heat. And it looks like before this sequence he doesn't have any heat, right? He's not glowing. So landing the back two going into the sprint generates heat. So it looks like he has a move that gives him a charge of the heat gauge or whatever it's going to be. Does the move and spends it. And now he's back to normal. So Lars's is a bit different. It looks like he starts in heat, right? Because he's already glowing. He does this power mid move. And then he's still glowing. But when he does this attack and does the dash cancel, he spends whatever remaining charge he has. Because now he's no longer glowing, right? But whatever he did likely takes 2 charges of heat. Same thing here. Jin is starting in a neutral state. He lands the 1+2, and then he sprints forward. So we can pretty much confirm, I think, that the sprint means you're generating heat. The little cutscene. He does his running 2, spends the heat to do the dash cancel, and you can see he's still glowing. Okay? So that move he did seemed to have generated 2 charges. And even here when he gets hit, he's still glowing. Right? He's still glowing here. Here's something that's a little curious, though. Watch Kazuya through this whole sequence. So you see he's not... There's no colors or anything. He is glowing red as he blocks these. And then when he ducks and lands the while standing 2, he's still not glowing. But he transforms to devil mode, and now he's glowing. So did he have enough heat to go into devil mode? Or did going into devil mode generate heat? I'm not sure. It looks like the latter. I think that he must have some devil transformation that gives him heat. Maybe it's triggered by rage. We don't know enough yet. We don't know if this glowing red is like generating heat or is it removing heat, because they want it to value aggression, right? So is blocking going to reduce your heat gauge? We don't know. I don't play other games with meter, so I can't really comment on what is effective and what isn't. It's all going to be pretty new to me. So what we know so far is that the full sprint with the cutscene and the over-the-shoulder view looks like it generates heat. We don't know if it's 1, we don't know if it's 2, or maybe more, because Jack spends it immediately and it goes away. Jin spends it and then gets to do his cancel again, right? So this is still a little vague because we don't have any UI to go off of. We can't see the meter. We can't see if they're in rage or not. But it appears that landing certain moves will put you in that sprinting animation, and that's what generates your heat. And then certain moves will spend it. So you can see Jack here glowing like bright red. Looks like there's flames coming out. His move is glowing with a lot of hit sparks. And then once it completes, he flashes white right here. And that white flash must indicate the end of heat. One other thing I'm confused about is what these power moves are that warp the screen and turn it blue. My guess is that would be another heat mechanic based on how the previous heat mechanics warp the screen. But it's a little ambiguous if Lars is flashing white here to indicate that he's losing heat or spending it. Except for when he does this forward dash. And then the heat glow is gone, right? So not too sure how that works. The other clue is when Kazuya does it here, you could see that he's not heated. And then suddenly, he transforms into the devil and is heated. So even though the screen is warped like this, like it was when Jin landed his initial heat attack, which you can see here, you could see that landing the attack that generates heat warps the screen that way. So maybe this isn't a heated attack, but is a rage drive or something like that. And using it warps the screen because you're generating heat. The only confusion with that is Lars is very clearly already in heat. before he uses this move, right? Before the move connects. And then when he spends the heat on the dash, it's gone. So I'm not sure what that screen warping is. It's hard to say for now until we learn more. The only thing we can really conclude is that heat can be generated in multiple ways, which is something they've said. And so far we've seen it land off of a punish into that scripted sprint, or Kazuya transforms and is suddenly in heat. Now, I don't have a lot of expertise on other games that use meter, so I'm not going to speculate or draw connections there, but I will say that I think it's pretty cool when characters have adaptive movesets depending on their resources. I can already imagine that using that heat dash cancel that Lars and Jin are using will probably feel really fun. I think that'll be super exciting to be comboing or beating somebody up, and then you dash cancel and extend your combo, or you land a huge power move and dash cancel and it turns into a combo. I imagine that's going to be pretty fun and satisfying to use. I do have one gripe with what we saw today, though. It's all so slow. I'm going to count the seconds when Jack hits the back two. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and then you're actionable again. So it's about 2 full seconds before you can take action again. It's the same thing with Jin's attack. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, action. So you get taken out of the game for 2 full seconds. This bugs me because Tekken really rewards the ability to make a bunch of decisions and a bunch of reads in a really fast-paced timeline to outplay your opponent. After the initial coolness wears off, it just becomes a cinematic flashy break that kind of stops one player from snowballing their momentum and their advantages in decision making, and giving the defending player some time to breathe and make a better decision. And while this is very forgiving and welcoming to newer players, I think it takes away from some of the most exciting parts of Tekken. A 2-second pause is insanely slow. This immediately reminded me of Soul Calibur's Reversal Edge, where the entire game pauses to initiate a rock, paper, scissors game. Now, I'm not in the Soul Calibur scene, but for me, this feels like a big deviation from what makes Tekken fun, which is fast-paced reads using deep move lists and strong movement in order to make your outplays. I want to demonstrate this by showing you guys a set that happened right before this announcement. This is Genghis D0n versus Tai at the North American Finals that happened today. Now let me set the scene. This is final round in a 1-2 set. It's 1-1, 2-2 rounds. Whoever loses this goes home. I'm going to let it play through once, and then we'll start covering how fast these decisions are happening.
Oh no. This is a big game because again, this can decide who makes it out.
So pay attention here. Tai's about to go for a tackle. Genghis D0n is going to break it, and then Tai lands a low parry right away. This turns into a combo. Tai breaks the floor. Combo ends. Now Tai is going to try to whiff punish him here, but he's a bit slow. Another low parry immediately. And here's another fast decision point. The combo is messed up, but he gets the duck while standing 4 into a mix-up, and then the tackle kills. Now, let me break this down one more time because this is actually really impressive from Tai. So as context to the match, Genghis D0n had been relying heavily on Katarina's generic low kick to like stop Tai's offense and generate her own offense. So first there's just some poking, and then you see that generic low kick. Now the tackle break happens here. Usually both players will just disengage, kind of like a clinch in boxing, but you could see here Tai is immediately ready. He stands up and remembers, hey, hold up, there's a low that's been coming over and over again. Now we let the combo play out really quick. Now here, right after the combo ends, Tai is going to run up and fake that he's going to attack. D0n is going to do a get-up kick that's going to whiff. Tai is a bit slow in the reaction and goes for a whiff punish, and it ends up getting blocked. But right after, he goes for an armor move. However, Genghis D0n interrupts that armor move. So usually when this happens to people in game, they get kind of stunned, like, whoops, I got interrupted. You know, my fault. Let me just chill out. No, Tai is immediately ready for the generic low kick right after he got counter hit. So even though the situation is rapidly changing outside of the plan, he's prepared for the next step. This turns into another combo, and you can see that he actually messes up the combo. The jab misses here, the ground throw misses. So D0n has an opportunity usually here to go for a punish. So he goes for his while rising punch. Tai recognizes that D0n chose this move, and that the second hit is high. So he flash ducks. This is after his combo messed up. Again, everything is going wrong, right? But his ability to stay in the moment and make the next decision is impeccable. He lands this while standing punish, and because D0n had just messed up on retaliation 2 times in a row, the first time is here after the tackle is broken, he swings with a low and gets low parried. The second time is here, right after this combo ends, he swings, Tai goes for a whiff punish, and it doesn't work. So Tai knows that D0n probably knows that he might get punished if he tries to attack right away after getting up. So what does Tai do? Immediate mix-up as D0n is waking up. Now, so many decisions went wrong so fast in those moments that he expects D0n to just do a panic tech roll here. Mash the get up button, get up, get back to playing the game. What does he do? He goes for a tackle that is almost unbreakable if you choose to tech roll in that situation. The chip damage from the tackle ends up killing, and he wins the game. Like, this is what makes Tekken and fighting games in general so cool. Tai is making these reads at such a fast pace and is one step ahead of D0n at each interaction, even when things are going wrong. Now imagine if what happened instead is Tai lands this tackle, the game pauses for 2 full seconds, and D0n can decide, hey, maybe I shouldn't swing. Maybe I should just back up. Like, that low parry never happens, right? There's no chance for the outplay to be made. Now, obviously, it can still happen. But part of the beauty of this moment is how the fast pace and the anxiety of the mistakes isn't allowed to be recovered from due to the pace of the match. Let's look at this again. The whiff punish fails, sure. The armor move is interrupted, okay. Imagine if here, because it was a counter hit, the game freezes for like 10 seconds. Now this low parry is way less interesting because the game is effectively reset out of its momentum state. Sure, the frames might still be in a non-neutral state, but that kind of player versus player anxiety is gone. In case I haven't overdone the example yet, say that Marduk lands this knee here, he goes into heat stance, sprints forward, and all of a sudden, like, D0n has to wake up into a mix-up, you know? Sure, the mix-up happens right away, but that anxiety is gone. And if that anxiety is gone, does this tech roll happen that leads into the tackle? There's a lot of what ifs, and if you really dig into the situation, sure, at the end of the day, it's a guess. But part of the exciting things about these games and competitions is when you put things in a time deadline or make things really fast, you get mistakes or outplays or situations that wouldn't normally happen. Again, with the chess analogy, part of the reason Blitz can be more fun to watch than classical is because you have to make these decisions in real time at a really fast pace. You arrive at positions that normally wouldn't happen given a lot of time to calculate and given a lot of time to prepare and, like, you know, avoid making maybe common mistakes. But under a time deadline, you might make a mistake on a good read that your opponent isn't seeing that. So imagine if Tekken 7 had these moments where you had to pause, wait, and then execute your mix-up or your guess or your read. That kind of reduces the tension and anxiety and intensity, no? Except we do have that in this game. In this game, Devil Jin has a combo ender that takes about 2 seconds to complete. It's called Heaven's Door. Until the most recent patch, it was the highest damage combo ender. So at worst, you would see it maybe 2 times per round, but if they landed a Hell Sweep into it, maybe 3 times per round. If you ever played with a friend for like a decent amount of time, it gets old so fast losing control of your character for 2 full seconds just to get up and guess again. Again, looking at Tai's set earlier, the speed of guessing leads to the high tension matches and the beautiful clutch outplays. Extended guessing time for cinematic purposes is kind of cool the first few times. Like for this trailer, it looks really good. The first time Devil Jin lands a Heaven's Door, it's kind of sick, but it loses its flair really quickly because you know right after, the game isn't over, we still have to make our guess. I don't think there are spectators that are going to lose their minds if Heaven's Door is suddenly a bit faster. In Tekken Tag 2 and all Tekkens before, Heaven's Door was at light speed, super fast. You could see that as the attacker, you have to react really quickly if the camera decides to change angles, right? So like, finishing your combo, if you stay on the same attacking side, is different than if you switch to the player 2 side. That's a bit from the competitive standpoint, but again, as both players, if you're playing for a really long time, cinematics can get really, really old really quickly. Now, I'm not against all cinematic changes to the game. I think that there are some ways to do it really, really well. So for example, Tekken 7 added a dramatic camera zoom when you land a counter hit launcher. This is really useful, especially when you see a matchup like Steve. I'll show you some Tekken Tag 2 footage right here. So Nin is playing Steve, and if you don't watch very carefully, you can't really tell the transition between, you know, movement and the counter hit happening. Suddenly, Run It Black is just getting comboed. As a spectator, it's kind of hard to appreciate the movement and the pressure and the offense that leads to this kind of counter hit because the payoff doesn't really feel there unless you are a player of the game, right? Here's another example. So you can see that like 3 punches are blocked and then the back 1 counter hits. But again, unless you actually play the game, the impact of the moves feels very similar, except for the hit spark, right? And you can see the combo starts now, but it takes a moment to kind of click and realize like, oh, wait, he got hit. Look at this same sequence in Tekken 7. Instead of Tag 2's subtle crumble, Tekken 7 gives you a huge explosion sound and the camera's like, look, he got counter hit. It doesn't take game-specific knowledge to appreciate the event that just happened. I think that's a really good usage of cinematics in the middle of combat. It doesn't affect the gameplay that much. Now, some people will argue that it makes confirming your counter hit and getting the combo a little easier, but I think that the top level of players aren't really losing their edge because the camera tells you a little bit better that a counter hit happened. So in short, I think the aggressive nature of the heat dash canceling especially looks really fun. I think the idea of generating advantage for trying to engage will lead to some dynamic play. I do expect a lot of turtling to happen once one of the players is in heat, kind of like how when Geese Howard gets meter in this game, the other player just starts backdashing. But prior to that, it should be pretty cool. My main issue is that the slowdown on some of these heat attacks is ridiculous. In some cases, pauses in the action can be really good for spectators. So when, you know, Steve lands a counter hit, it zooms in, whoa, big counter hit. And it doesn't slow down the game that much, so players are still making decisions, they're still able to continue playing, continue to like do your combo, things like that. I don't think this heat mechanic is one of them. I really hope it gets sped up. It'd be really cool if Jin lands his 3 punches and then goes into the meter dash cancel, and that's his heat generation. And now the opponent has to guess really quickly. That might be pretty cool, because even though it's a canned mix-up, it's happening at a fast enough pace where both players don't have to like let go of the controller while something is happening. I don't prefer a forced mix-up, obviously. You could check out the last video for that. But at least it's serviceable. So those are some of my thoughts on the latest heat changes. I think that the flexibility of the mechanic is looking really exciting. I'm a little disappointed with how slow it takes for the cinematic to play out. But I am hopeful that they will continue to make adjustments as the game goes on. You know, when Tekken 7 moved from arcade to PC and console, a lot of the rage arts were changed, for example. So I'm confident in their ability to adjust depending on how the players respond over time. I'm hoping to get more details on each character's heat system options, because currently there's a big problem in Tekken 7 where getting access to rage warps your character into a completely different monster, and the counterplay no longer becomes very deep and interesting. Instead, the counterplay usually becomes just disengage and let them blow their resources. That's a topic for another video, but I'm very hopeful that Tekken 8, with its emphasis on engagement and aggression, will hopefully notice the connection between game warping resources and the need to turtle outside of those. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you like these analyses. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.